Hoffenheim are a club who divide opinion across German football. Whilst they have experienced a meteoric rise from the 9th tier of the German pyramid to the Champions League, their funding from businessman Deitmar Hopp has been described by many as financial doping. Their place in the Bundesliga has been derided by many, with fans of Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund in particular expressing their displeasure at the club. But just how did a club from a village of around 3,000 people find their way to the top? Our story begins in 1945, when the merging of a gymnastics club and football club helped to form TSG 1889 Hoffenheim. At the start of the 1990s, Hoffenheim were playing in the 9th tier of German football, although improvements over the next few years saw them rise up the tiers of the German football pyramid. But things would truly change for the club at the tail end of the 1990s, thanks largely to the investments of billionaire businessman Deitmar Hopp. Hopp was born in Hoffenheim and played over 200 games for the club at amateur level as a striker. After being a founding member of software company SAP in 1972, he had amassed a huge fortune. Hopp would invest some of his wealth into the club, and their fortunes would change drastically. One of his first actions was to build a new 5,000-seater stadium that would be named the Deitmar Hopp Stadion. Hoffenheim's new wealth would help them climb up the pyramid. In 2000, they finished first in the Verbandsliga, and as a result, were promoted to the 4th tier. Another first-place finish the next season saw them promoted to the 3rd tier. The club's fanbase over this time was also starting to increase. Attendances had increased from an average of 300 to 600, and then to around 1,500. Hoffenheim would spend the next few seasons in the 3rd tier, but Hopp remained ambitious. He intended to form a merger with neighbouring clubs FC Astoria Waldorf and SV Sandhausen in an aim to help his club turn professional. But this proposal was in the end rejected, partially due to disagreements as to where their stadium would be located. With Hopp keen to gain promotion to the 2nd tier, he decided change was needed. Head coach Hansi Flick was no longer seen as the man who could take the club to success, and as a result was relieved of his duties. For the next season, Ralf Rangnick, who had managed the likes of Stuttgart, Hanover and Schalke, was appointed as manager. It was a huge coup for Hoffenheim and proved that Hopp meant business. After 5 seasons in the 3rd tier, Hoffenheim finally achieved promotion to the 2nd tier of German football in 2007. The next campaign would be their first ever season in professional football, and Hopp decided another new stadium was needed. Hopp would lay down the groundwork for a new stadium, investing 100 million of his own money into the project, as well as putting an emphasis on nurturing young talent. In the meantime, whilst Hopp's dreams were becoming true, he was also making a lot of enemies. Many German fans saw Hoffenheim as a manufactured club, only rising up the leagues because of financial investments, and fans were angry at them taking the places of clubs with history amongst the upper echelons of German football. People were also unhappy that Hoffenheim had got around the 50+1 rule, a ruling in German football that dictates that at least 50% of the club's shares are owned by club's members to protect them from external investors, something that Hopp had got around by being provided with an exemption as he had invested in the club for over 20 years, as well as the fact that he had owned the club before the rule was brought into place. Hopp would write to the German football authorities, asking that criticism of him be treated with the same consequences as racism. Despite the controversy, Hoffenheim continued their march forwards. In only their first season in the 2nd tier, thanks in part to new signing Demba Ba, they would finish 2nd and were promoted to the Bundesliga 18 years after they were playing amateur football. Although they were hardly welcomed to the Bundesliga with open arms, it was a remarkable rise for a team from a small village, and they would take to the top flight like a duck to water. They started the season brilliantly, with the attacking trio of Demba Ba, Chinedu Abassi and Vehad Ibisevic seeing the club score 42 goals in their first 17 matches, and their style of play under Rangnick was pleasing to many observers' eyes. As the winter break came along, Hoffenheim were top on goal difference, but an ACL injury to Ibisevic ruled him out for the rest of the season, and Hoffenheim's form would slip, although they still finished the season in 7th place. Hoffenheim would move to their new 30,000 arena in 2009, a stadium that's capacity was 10 times the population of the village of Hoffenheim. Over the next few years, they experienced a series of mid-table finishes and were hit hard when Rangnick left the club after Hopp sold Luis Gustavo to Bayern Munich behind the manager's back. They narrowly survived relegation in 2013 after winning the playoff, but over the next few years maintained a place in the Bundesliga, whilst also developing talents such as Andrej Kramaric and Roberto Firmino. In 2016, 28-year-old Julian Nagelsmann was appointed as head coach, and he would take the club to new heights. A fourth-place finish in 2017 saw them into Champions League playoff rounds, although they would lose to Liverpool and had to settle for a place in the Europa League. In 2018, however, they sealed automatic qualification to the Champions League after finishing in third place. Hoffenheim's place in the Bundesliga appears to be secure, and they have also been able to secure their future financially. Hoffenheim's rise bears similarities with that of Gretna, a club from a small area who were also bankrolled by a rich owner in Brooks Mileson. But unlike Gretna, Hoffenheim have been able to move away from sole dependence on their rich owner. The bonanza of Champions League football will have provided the club with huge amounts of revenue, and the recruitment system has also helped to allow them to remain secure. For example, the likes of Roberto Firmino and Joe Linton have helped the club enormously due to their resale value. Both players were purchased for nominal fees from Brazilian clubs, but Firmino was sold to Liverpool for almost 30 million, and Joe Linton to Newcastle for around 40 million. Such huge sales can cover any gaps the club may lack in revenue due to not having the same supporter and marketing pull as clubs in bigger areas with more history. But for as long as Hoffenheim remain in the Bundesliga, there will always be their critics. Borussia Dortmund fans in particular have expressed their anger towards Hopp. In 2011, during a game between Dortmund and Hoffenheim, a Hoffenheim employee would play background noise over the speakers in an attempt to drown out the anti-Hopp chants being sung. In recent years, Dortmund fans have been banned from visiting Hoffenheim away due to their protests, which included a picture that showed Hopp's face behind crosshairs. The protests have continued over the years, and in March 2020, a game between Bayern Munich and Hoffenheim was interrupted when a banner was seen from the Bayern Munich fans that called Hopp a son of a bitch. The opposition to Hoffenheim is unlikely to go away anytime soon, and with Red Bull Leipzig also thrown into the mix, fans across German football are far from happy that two new clubs with little history have been thrown into the mix, whilst clubs with rich history in the German top flight such as Hanover, Hamburg, Schalke and Werder Bremen languish in the second tier. On one hand, Hoffenheim's rise is a labour of love. Hopp has invested in his local team that he used to play for, and through sheer determination has turned a village team into one that has played Champions League football. But on the other hand, it does also signify issues with modern football. It is a commonly held belief that success must be earned, and many fans have been upset with how clubs such as Manchester City and PSG have been able to buy success due to being bankrolled by billionaires, rather than earning it. Hoffenheim are a strong example of this, as were it not for Hopp's millions, they would still be a village side, and they will continue to irk German supporters through how they have found their way to the top. So overall, Hoffenheim will continue to divide opinion, but for now, they are here to stay. They will not be able to depend on the now 81-year-old Deitmar Hopp forever, but with how they have been able to generate financial gain through smart recruitment, they have been able to become dependent outside of him. Whilst protests against their place in the Bundesliga will continue, it seems as though their place in the top tier of German football will also continue.